Bonjour à tous, merci de nous retrouver donc cet après-midi pour ce webinaire au sujet du CELTA. Donc en plusieurs parties. Première partie, je vais vous présenter en français ce qu'est le CELTA dans les grandes lignes avec les points principaux. Et puis après, on continuera en anglais avec deux témoignages très intéressants de personnes qui ont passé le CELTA. Et puis, on finira en beauté avec Jane Ryder, qui est à notre centre d'examen et aussi teacher trainer pour le CELTA. Et donc, il nous en dira plus sur les détails de la formation. Et puis, nous finirons par répondre à vos questions. Donc, avant de commencer à décrire dans les détails ce qu'est le CELTA au travers de nos témoignages, je vous propose de brosser un tableau très synthétique de qu'est-ce que le CELTA. Alors déjà, premièrement, nous avons ces acronymes, cet acronyme CELTA. Eh bien, CELTA signifie que c'est un certificat, un diplôme qui vous permet d'enseigner l'anglais, langue étrangère. Donc, vous connaissez certainement des diplômes d'anglais, langue étrangère, qui permettent d'être enseignant, par exemple, de FLE, si vous êtes enseignant de français langue étrangère. Et ben, il y a le même pendant, le pendant britannique, avec cette certification, ce diplôme qui est probablement le plus prestigieux au monde pour être enseignant d'anglais, langue étrangère. Donc, avant le webinaire, nous avions des questions à ce sujet sur est-ce qu'avec un CELTA, je peux enseigner l'anglais? Eh bien oui, une fois que vous avez ce fameux diplôme, vous pourrez être enseignant d'anglais. Alors, il s'agit d'un diplôme, mais il s'agit aussi d'une formation, et Jane nous en dira plus tout à l'heure sur le contenu de cette formation. Donc, c'est une formation, c'est un diplôme et c'est aussi un diplôme qui est reconnu internationalement. Donc, à la fois, vous pourrez le valoriser en France, mais également à l'étranger ou que vous alliez partout dans le monde. C'est ça qui est extraordinaire, c'est que ce diplôme, cette formation, elle est reconnue. Et puis, quatrième avantage, quatrième spécificité, c'est qu'elle a une valeur pérenne. Une fois que vous avez fait cette formation, une fois que vous avez ce diplôme, eh bien, vous le gardez à vie et vous pouvez vraiment valoriser votre CV. Euh, voilà, et on verra de toutes les manières desquelles vous pouvez développer votre vie professionnelle, votre carrière grâce au CELTA tout à l'heure. Eh bien, vous pourrez le garder à vie, ce fameux CELTA qui est très très connu. Donc, vous voyez sur l'écran, une fois que vous l'aurez validé, reçu, il ressemblera donc à ceci. Donc, voilà, 4 points à retenir. C'est une formation, c'est un vrai diplôme d'enseignant d'anglais langue étrangère. Il est reconnu internationalement, donc je peux, grâce à ça, travailler en France et à l'étranger en tant qu'enseignant d'anglais notamment. Et puis, il a une valeur pérenne. Alors, la question qu'on nous pose souvent, et c'est vrai qu'en France, on a l'habitude des concours, etc. Déjà, quel niveau il faut avoir pour pouvoir prétendre à entrer dans cette formation, à préparer ce diplôme CELTA? Et puis, est-ce qu'on peut échouer potentiellement? Alors, on vous rassure, c'est vrai que pour être enseignant d'anglais, il faut un niveau minimum d'anglais, ça c'est sûr, c'est incontournable et c'est peut-être la chose évidemment la plus longue et difficile à acquérir si on n'est pas natif. Il faut être sur le niveau du cadre européen des langues, au moins de niveau C1. Donc, c'est mieux d'être au-dessus du niveau C1. Donc, souvent, on dit communément C1+, voire C2 sur le cadre européen des langues, donc dans le dessus de l'échelle. Mais ce qu'on veut dire par là, c'est que c'est pas obligatoire d'être natif, hein, d'être de langue maternelle anglais pour pouvoir enseigner l'anglais. Il faut que vous ayez obtenu ce niveau C1, C2 pour pouvoir commencer à prétendre à préparer le CELTA. Alors, il y a aussi tout un processus, et Jane nous en parlera, comment dirais-je, si vous voulez préparer cette formation, un dialogue qui commence à s'amorcer avec le centre pour voir si vous êtes un candidat qui va réussir et avoir une formation et un diplôme qui vous convient vraiment. Il y a vraiment tout ce travail en amont dont Jane nous parlera, tout ce dialogue avec vous avant pour que, une fois que vous êtes dans la formation, eh bien, vous voyez, on a 97,5% d'élèves qui entrent dans la formation et qui vont jusqu'au bout et qui obtiennent leur diplôme. Alors après, vous l'obtenez plus ou moins brillamment avec voilà, une note plus ou moins brillante au CELTA, mais à partir du moment où vous allez, que Jane va vous dire, oui, c'est bon, vous pouvez commencer la formation CELTA avec moi, eh bien, vous pouvez être sûr que vous serez vraiment aidé pour réussir sur ce chemin. Donc, il y a très, très peu d'abandon parce qu'on fait ce travail, donc d'être sûr que c'est la formation qui vous convient. Donc voilà les deux points essentiels. Donc il n'y a pas d'échec, grosso modo. On s'assure bien que si vous faites ça, vous allez réussir. Et par contre, en revanche, il faut que vous ayez un niveau C1+, C2 en anglais pour pouvoir commencer la formation. Alors après, la question qu'on nous demande souvent, mais à qui s'adresse le CELTA? Alors, le CELTA, à la base, historiquement, ça a été un diplôme qui a été, une formation qui a été créée parce que quand l'Angleterre enfin le Royaume-Uni voilà, a commencé à avoir des comptoirs partout dans le monde, etc., il a fallu, pour plein de raisons, enseigner l'anglais et on a voulu mettre en place des normes assez, voilà, strictes et éprouvées pour pouvoir enseigner l'anglais dans le monde. Et historiquement, c'est un diplôme qui est fait pour des personnes qui n'ont jamais eu l'expérience d'enseigner. Donc, si vous êtes complètement novice dans l'enseignement, mais que vous avez envie de vous lancer, si vous avez envie d'être dans un processus de reconversion parce que vous avez envie de faire quelque chose de complètement différent, eh bien, et que vous avez le niveau au moins C1+ en anglais, le CELTA est fait pour vous. C'est vraiment le bon moyen de changer de carrière vraiment rapidement parce que les formations, on le verra, sont très très courtes. Et puis, si vous êtes déjà enseignant, mais que vous avez envie, par exemple, souvent on voit des capétiens ou d'autres enseignants qui ont de l'expérience, mais qui ont envie de voir une autre manière d'aborder la formation en anglais langue étrangère, une formation par rapport à des recherches et des principes qui viennent de Cambridge, qui ont été faits par l'Université de Cambridge. Eh bien, le CELTA est une expérience, encore une fois, qui est assez courte, puisqu'en général, on peut le faire sur un mois. Ça peut être aussi une idée qui est très bonne. Et puis, si vous avez envie aussi que votre carrière continue à évoluer, eh bien, le CELTA peut être la première pierre à l'édifice avant de passer vers un delta. Voilà. Et alors, il y a aussi une autre raison. Certains enseignants ont envie de rester en France et puis d'autres qui se disent, ah mais tiens, pourquoi pas à un moment donné poursuivre mon conjoint pour un petit peu changer, aller travailler par exemple au Moyen-Orient, en Asie. Eh bien, le CELTA vous permet de faire ceci. Donc, c'est vraiment un diplôme qui est très reconnu, très recherché, qui se prépare de manière courte, où vous n'aurez pas d'échec puisqu'on va s'assurer que vous soyez vraiment bien pour cette formation, que cette formation vous corresponde. Et donc, voilà. Alors, les modalités pour préparer la certification donc CELTA, la formation, elle peut être faite en face à face, et Jane y reviendra plus en détail, ou bien en ligne. Donc, depuis le Covid, on peut le faire en ligne. Donc, avec une partie théorique et avec une partie pratique, sachant que vraiment l'ADN du CELTA, c'est la mise en pratique. On est dans cette approche anglo-saxonne où on veut vraiment que, voilà, en fin de compte, quand on est enseignant, c'est vraiment être en interaction avec l'élève. Et c'est vraiment ce que vous allez apprendre durant cette formation avec des vrais élèves auxquels vous devrez faire la classe, donc soit en vrai, soit en ligne. Et je laisse le soin à Jane de développer un petit peu plus tard cet aspect. Et la question qu'on nous pose souvent, mais est-ce que je vais rater l'examen? Eh bien, sachez que l'idée, c'est que vous rendiez des devoirs. Donc, vous faites la classe pendant la journée, vous assistez à des cours, il y a tout un travail d'équipe qui se fait, il y a une émulation, il y a une motivation, il y a un soutien. Et vous aurez des épreuves de mise en situation, mais aussi des essais. Mais ce n'est pas un examen final que vous allez échouer ou réussir. Donc, si jamais vous ratez à une épreuve, eh bien, vous aurez la possibilité de soumettre à nouveau pour que, in fine, vous ayez réussi cette formation et surtout obtenu les acquis nécessaires. Mais je n'en dis pas plus. Je laisserai Jane développer ce point. Juste un petit mot parce qu'on s'est dit que ça pouvait être intéressant de savoir qui passait le CELTA en France parce que peut-être que du coup ça va vous parler. Alors c'est vrai qu'avec le CPF, vous pouvez financer votre CELTA. Donc effectivement, il y a un nombre important de personnes qui sont en recherche d'emploi donc qui prépare le CELTA. On a aussi un certain nombre d'entrepreneurs. Et puis, vous voyez sur le graphique, ce qui est très intéressant, c'est que vous avez des profils relativement différents et assez divers de gens qui travaillaient dans certains secteurs. Donc, on a dans l'enseignement supérieur, parce que dans l'enseignement supérieur, quand j'ai un CELTA et que après je fais un delta, eh bien, je peux accéder à des postes vraiment intéressants dans des départements. Je peux commencer à diriger un département de langue, etc., etc. Donc, on a des enseignants et puis on a aussi des personnes qui sont en reconversion professionnelle complètement et qui étaient dans des secteurs complètement différents. Et puis en bas, tout en bas du graphique, vous voyez aussi donc ce sondage qu'on a mené en disant est-ce que préparer un CELTA vous a aidé à améliorer votre employabilité? Eh bien, 82% des personnes disent que oui. Et voilà, donc ça, c'est vraiment une info qui est très importante parce que cet investissement en temps, il est rentable pour vous parce que vous allez vraiment apprendre quelque chose et faire évoluer votre carrière de manière beaucoup plus enrichissante encore. Je voulais aussi vous parler donc vraiment des faits. Alors, avant le webinaire, j'ai un petit peu regardé sur Internet en me mettant dans la peau d'une personne qui venait de passer son CELTA et de regarder un petit peu à quel job je pouvais postuler. Eh bien, on a aussi fait une étude qui dit que 88% des personnes, pardon, des job ads, donc des annonces, demandent le CELTA au Royaume-Uni, bien évidemment parce que c'est le premier pays où on demande le CELTA. Et puis 71% en Europe, au Moyen-Orient et en Afrique. Donc des employeurs qui cherchent à employer des enseignants d'anglais mentionnent le CELTA. Et pour preuve, donc, comme je disais en préparant un petit peu ce webinaire, j'ai regardé. Donc là, typiquement, vous voyez, c'est une annonce qui est sortie. Donc, j'ai fait ça la semaine dernière. Voilà, si vous voulez aller en Pologne, eh bien, donc, par exemple, là, c'est un job en Pologne. Il demande le CELTA. Là, c'est une annonce qui paraît en ce moment pour l'université, donc Léonard de Vinci, pour être coordinateur d'anglais. Et il demande donc le CELTA. Donc vous pouvez, voilà, cet emploi en particulier, il est assez intéressant quand on lit le détail. Ça vous permet vraiment d'accéder à des métiers intéressants et pour commencer enseignant. Et puis après, vous pouvez accéder à des positions qui sont très intéressantes. Et puis j'ai pris un autre exemple pour un petit peu balayer le monde entier. À Hong Kong, une école, là, pour le coup complètement différent, une école primaire qui demande aussi d'avoir le CELTA. Donc voilà, mais je veux pas, voilà, je vais pas m'attarder plus longtemps. Je vous ai donné les grandes lignes et maintenant on va passer la parole donc au témoignage et je crois que Matthew is here with us.
Yes, thank you,
Share
Sonia.
your experience.
Yes. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello,
Bonjour.
everybody. I'll do it in English.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm Matthew. Mathieu. I'm 37 and I live in Nice, in France. I've worked for 10 years in digital advertising, and after 10 years, I realized that I hated my job, so I decided to change. But the question was, what do I do now? I didn't know what to do. I only knew that my English was decent because I lived abroad, and my partner suggested that I try teaching the language. But first thing I did was to take a test, the IELTS, because I wanted to have some kind of certification to prove my level. But once I did that, I didn't know where to go. It was private school, public sectors, young adults, learners, etc. And being great at making decisions, I decided to pursue all of the options. So I registered for the CAPES. I signed up for private schools. I did everything. I just gave up everything because I tried talking to actual teachers and they all told me the same thing. Don't do it. Run. That's not for you. So that's around that time I started looking for options to teach English to adults. And that's where the CELTA program started coming up everywhere as the standards. And the big plus was I could use my CPF to pay for it. So I used that to fund it. At that point, I still didn't know anything about teaching, but I applied. I got in somehow. It's worth mentioning that I did watch loads of videos about CELTA before starting because I was scared. I saw there was a question about that. And I also worked on grammar before, which is something I suggest you do if you join the program. So I chose to attend the course in Marseille, the on-site course, because, well, it was mostly because I'm not very good at following online classes. I know that after 5 minutes, I'm on my phone watching TikTok videos. So I went to Marseille, moved there for a month, and I'm glad I did because I got fully involved in the course. And for the whole month of February, CELTA was pretty much my life. And I wasn't living in Marseille at the time, so I had to commute every day for several hours. It was very challenging, but actually I managed to get a lot of work done on the train. So it kind of helped me in the way. But yeah, for a whole month, you kind of think CELTA, you eat CELTA, you sleep CELTA whenever you can sleep because that's not easy. It's very intense. And when you're not preparing your next lesson, you're teaching. When you're not teaching, you're writing assignments. It's nonstop. Like you never stop. But for me, one of the most important things I learned was you get out what you put in. So if you really want to do it properly. And yeah, it was scary to find myself on day 2 in front of a class, waiting for me to teach them English when I didn't know where to start. But it's doable, and I'm exaggerating a little, but I joined not knowing anything about teaching, and I left being quite good at it, according to my tutors, at least. So it's important to note as well that you're not alone in this process. Yeah, the tutors are here to help you. They are very kind. They are brutally honest, but they want you to succeed. That's very important. You have your fellow trainees with you, and you soon realize that you're all in the same boat. So it kind of creates this bond, and it's pretty much your family for a whole month. And once CELTA was over, so I went back home, started looking for jobs, and only 2 weeks after, I found one in my city. And there's something very gratifying about showing your CELTA diploma and being able to say, yeah, I am a certified teacher. I can do this. So I'll be starting in September as a teacher for the Centre Communal d'Action Sociale in my city. It's a 12 hours per week contract so far, but if things go well, I can get more classes. And yeah, for now, I do want to see how it goes. I still work part-time in advertising, but it looks as if I found something that I like. So very happy so far. That's it for me.
I suppose I'll take over.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, Madeleine.
Yes,
Sorry.
please go on. Yes.
Thanks. So I'm Madeleine. I've just completed a couple of weeks ago an online, so a 5-week online CELTA course. For myself, I'm actually on parental leave at the moment. I worked in teaching about 10 years ago, and I wanted to get back into teaching. And 10 years ago, I had no diploma. And I know that now, talking to people, it is absolutely necessary to have a recognized certificate. So I wanted to make the most of this time to get a good certificate. I chose to do it online because I have 2 small children and I didn't want to leave them for a whole month. So and also because I want to teach online a bit later. So I thought that would be a really useful way of practicing and saying I did my certificate in an online environment. So it's another skill that's quite useful today. As Mathieu said, it is very intense and you can't think I'm doing it online. I'm just going to sit on my chair and just watch videos for a day. That is not at all online CELTA. I was basically in front of my screen from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. 4 days a week, because the online one is a 5-week course. So what was quite nice was I did have my Wednesdays to do my lesson planning. It's not a holiday. Yeah, I know, I could see. And I had the weekend. So basically I prepared 1 lesson on Wednesday, 1 on Saturday, and I did the assignment on the Sunday. So yeah, it's less intense because you do have a little bit more time. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing passive about CELTA, as I think Matthew would probably agree. You have the input sessions, you're all participating, you have your teaching practice, you're teaching, you have your observation, you're observing. So you need to be present and participate physically and mentally for the whole time. In terms of organization, I have 2 small children. My son has only just turned 1, so I'm at home with him. So I actually had my parents come and live with us for 2 weeks. Then I had my in-laws come and live with us for 2 weeks, and my husband took a week off work. So anyone out there who does have children of any age, I would say you need to really think about the impact this will have on the whole family, because who is going to take your son to his clarinet lesson on Thursday night at 6 o'clock? It won't be you, because you'll be in front of your computer. And who is going to cook for the whole family you need to either delegate that or do lots of batch cooking or have lots of frozen food. I mean, it's very just like Mathieu says, the more you put in, the more you can get out, the more you can organize and free up your time. Sorry, that's that's my kids. The more you will be able to enjoy it and feel less tired. So delegate as much as you can, get in as much help as you can. Get some fresh air every day because you're online from, like I said, from 9 in the morning to 8 at night. And I found it very, very useful to impose an hour. We'd have an hour break. I just went and did gardening or went for a walk or saw my kids for that time. And that's really, really important because you cannot concentrate for that length of time, especially I think in front of a screen. One thing that is very, very positive from the online experience, which I was not quite expecting, is the rapport that we managed to get with the other students incredibly quickly. You're in the input sessions, you're in breakout rooms, chatting to people, you get to know your fellow students, like Mathieu said, it becomes your family for a week. The girls I was doing the teaching practice with, we met up several times a week to do our planning together. Then we rehearsed our teaching together. So that's really, really important as you get this great rapport. And I'm still in touch with a few of my colleagues, and we actually have some plans for the future. So yeah, like Mathieu said, everyone, the tutors are incredibly supportive. They're all out to help you. And you, like you say, the more you put in, the more you get out. I'm just going to have to go and give my son a hug, but I think I've said everything I wanted to do, and I'll be here for questions in a few minutes. Sorry.
Thanks a lot. Over to you, Jane, I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Madeleine and Mathieu. Hi, everyone, I'm Jane Ryder. We are the ELT Hub. We have 5 CELTA centers in France, and Mathieu attended our center in Marseille, and we also do online courses, and Madeleine did one of our online courses. I just want to first talk about something that I've seen a lot in the questions before we started, Sonia, which is about the difference between CELTA and TEFL.
Yes.
And I think very often we feel like we're in a sort of alphabet soup, don't we, in our business? You know, there's so many letters out there. I think it needs to be said that TEFL is the professional area in which we all operate. It is teaching English as a foreign language. That's what we're mainly doing. Apart from in the UK and the USA, for example, where it's English as a second language. Now, there are only really 2 and other bodies in the whole world that operate and that offer a certificate level course that has any value whatsoever. The first one is Cambridge University, the CELTA, and I would say they are definitely the market leader in the whole of Western Europe. There is another educational body called Trinity, and they have their Cert TESOL. They're quite well known in the UK. And then there are some US universities who will also have a certificate in TESOL, who are recognized in the US. But fundamentally, where we are here in Western Europe, if there isn't a major university like Cambridge behind the qualification, it's not recognized and it's not really worth much, because Cambridge has in place a whole quality assurance system. I'm a CELTA tutor. I'm not alone at all. I have a whole body of people at Cambridge to support me. And I think people often don't know that, in fact, someone from Cambridge gets involved at every single CELTA session. I'm sure Madeleine and Mathieu remember that you talk to the Cambridge assessor. And that's terribly important. And that is the quality. Very often, you know, when you're a tutor, you sometimes, you know, you might have a candidate who's on a pass-fail. You might have a candidate who's trying to get the A grade. And of course, you want them to do the best. But if you don't have this whole barrage of people behind you from Cambridge University who come out and say, actually, Jane, I'm sorry, but what you're not seeing is this. It's very easy just to let them through. So I do think it's that quality assurance that is Cambridge. And we all know that from the Cambridge exams as well, that guarantees that CELTA has a reputation. It is, if you go to Hong Kong, like Sonia said, or if you go to Argentina, you hold up your certificate, everybody in the world knows what that means. You hold up a TEFL certificate, very often it's pretty meaningless. Okay, so that's why we're proud of CELTA. I'd just like to also just describe how it all comes together. There's been somebody asked a question about what's the assignments. I'd like to talk about the assessment, and then I'll talk about some more general questions about about France. Basically, every day is the same. Okay, you're going to have every day 2 informative, hands-on, what we call input sessions, which is the theoretical part of CELTA. But the rest of every day is totally devoted to the teaching practice, because what is very, very particular about CELTA and these recognized qualifications is this intermingling of theory and practice. There's no point reading a lot of books about teaching if you don't actually do it. So most of every CELTA day is devoted to the teaching practice. Now, what this means is, first of all, you're going to sit down with your tutor, and Cambridge caps the ratio of 6 candidates to a tutor, which is also very important because you cannot really help more than 6 people in any great depth. So you're going to sit down with your tutor before you teach, at the very least the day before you teach, and you're going to talk through with them how you could do your lesson. And maybe your tutor said to you, okay, I'd like you to do a speaking lesson tomorrow. They're going to sit down with you. They're going to go through materials with you from a course book, or maybe you've made your own, and you're going to decide, very importantly, how you're going to structure your lesson. Then this evening, you're going to write your lesson plan. Madeline and Matthew have talked a lot about the time taken in lesson planning. So if you're teaching tomorrow, you want to make sure that when you go into the classroom, you've got your lesson plan ready. So you're going to do that tonight on your computer, okay? And then when you come back tomorrow, and that could be whether you're coming back to a physical center like in Marseille, or whether you're coming back to your online course, when it comes to teaching practice, which will be, it could be in the morning, it could be in the evening, it depends. You're going to stand up or sit down in front of your computer, and you're going to do maybe 40 minutes of your lesson, no more. Sometimes you might do 60 minutes. At the very beginning, you might do 20, but on the whole, it's around about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Then you stop, and someone else from your little teaching practice group will do another lesson, another 40 minutes, and then they stop. And then the third person in your group will do a final 40 minutes lesson. And that's the end of your 2 hours of teaching practice. And then after the lessons, you get together in your little group with your tutor, and you're going to analyze what happened in the class. And that's also, that is the key to CELTA, because very often, you know, we come out and we think, well, I think that was awful. I think that was a terrible lesson. And in fact, you need to have the support of your peers. You need to have the support of your tutor, because they might very well pick on things that went very well that you don't even notice. I think we all beat up on ourselves, don't we? So you're going to plan a lesson. You're going to try and teach it. You're going to reflect on how it all went. And then you're going to do that again and again and again and again and again. It's like riding a bicycle. You just got to keep getting back on and trying again. And by the time you've done that loads of times, you come out, and honestly, at the end of CELTA, you can teach anyone because you've done it. And I think that's terribly important. You've done it in a supportive environment. You've done it with very honest feedback from your tutors. So when people come out of CELTA, well, who do they teach? They can teach anybody. You can teach troubled teenagers in the morning and company executives in the afternoon, because it always comes down to the same thing. How are you going to use your materials? How are you going to structure your lesson? And how are you going to use the techniques which we help you acquire, which will make your lessons communicative and engaging and interesting? So there's no magic to it. It's just trial by error, basically. And so that's how the course is structured. I think it might be useful now to look at some of the specific questions you've asked. Sonia, do come back in here. Let's look at some of the questions that are coming up on the Q&A.
Do you want me to...
Could you, Sonia, please?
Yeah. Okay, so first question, which is probably I would like to know if there are part-time online courses for CELTA. So can
Yes, yeah, there are some part-time online courses. You need to look at the full offer on the Cambridge platform. Part-time is complicated online. What we do, simply because we need to have teaching practice students, and teaching practice students over the long haul often just sort of fall away. Without, you're going to be teaching real lessons, you're going to be teaching real learners, and we need to make sure those learners are in the classroom for you. And that's a major problem with part-time. But you know, there are 2 other CELTA providers in France, and we all do our best to offer part-time, but it's not easy. I would say, by the way, Matthew was in Marseille. I just want to mention that the ELT Hub, we do have also 5-week on-site courses which we can run in Brittany and Auvergne, because we are very committed to trying to stretch it out as much as possible, because if that extra week can make a big difference. So you don't have to do the 4-week, you can also do the 5-week.
So where can we take a CELTA in France? This is one of the questions you answered. So in Brittany,
we have 5 centers: Strasbourg, Marseille, Brittany, Lyon, Auvergne.
Okay, and so the duration of the course is one month, face-to-face, online 5 weeks.
And then in Auvergne and Brittany, it's also 5 weeks.
Yes, okay. So between 4 and 5 weeks, depends.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have a question about the nature of the assignment. So
the assignments, people get worried about assignments. I talked about the teaching practice. CELTA is all about your teaching. You're going to do 4 written assignments. I mean, do come in, Matthew and Emily, what you think about these. I just think, we're talking about 2 sides of A4 paper. It's not like going to university. They're very, very practical, the assignments. One of the assignments will be, think about the people you're teaching at the moment. See if you can analyze them. See if you can think about some of the problems they're having with English. The assignments are very practical. Did you find the assignments a nightmare, Matthew?
No, it was just because it was on top of everything else that made it nightmarish. But no, the assignments were fine. That wasn't the problem.
I do think if you had to compare what's the most difficult, teaching or the assignments, I think you'd say the teaching.
Oh yeah, the teaching for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Madeleine?
Yes, exactly. I was, like you said, I was quite worried about the assignments, but they're extremely practical and it's not, you're not writing dissertations like that. It really is, like you say, very practical. And no, your major part is the lesson planning and thinking about all that. And like you say, it's just on top of everything else.
What other questions were there?
So there is a question, I think you probably answered about the how many hours a day do you spend on the CELTA. But it's true that during the day, isn't it, you do your practice, but then you go home and you have to work on your coursework, isn't it?
Well, you're going to plan your lessons tonight. If you're on a 4-week course, for example, you're going to be teaching 2 or 3 times a week. And so the night before you teach, you're going to want to do your lesson plan. So somebody asking about, can I do a French course at the same time? My answer would be no, don't do that. Don't do that. That will lead to serious amounts of tiredness, really.
So I don't think, so it's not really part of the question, but maybe we can say a word about, as a group, did you make friends? How was it how was, the atmosphere? Was it, because I think it's something quite important in the CELTA, isn't it? It's quite motivating to be in a group and to...
Well, let's ask Matthew and Madeleine about that. How do you feel supported by the group?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, as Madeleine said, we're still in touch to this day, and we see one another. So yeah, for sure.
I think that's interesting. I do think it's, if you can do a face-to-face on-site CELTA, really, seriously. We tried very hard to create a feeling of group, you know, solidarity, Madeline, and I'm really pleased to hear that you felt that we managed that.
Absolutely.
That's really kind of you, but we can't do as much down a video camera as we can do face to face. And I think, you know, it is a fuller experience if you can get to a physical center to do your CELTA. Plus, I also think teaching nowadays in France, at least, has largely gone back into the classrooms. You know, COVID is behind us. Yes, there is teaching online, but there's an awful lot of teaching that's taking place in physical classrooms. And to gain confidence, to walk into a classroom with 30 people in front of you and handle it, you're better off doing that on a face-to-face CELTA.
So talking about the CELTA, there is a question about how long before do I need to take the interview and start the process before entering a CELTA? Maybe you can tell us a bit more about that, Jane.
Sure, that's a really important question, isn't it, Sonia? I mean, we all say, I think all CELTA centres in France say, you know, apply ASAP. You'd be surprised how they're filling up. I'm spending all my time having to send emails at the moment telling people they can't get on the course they wanted to get on. And it's very painful because they've been building up for it, but, you know, they've left it 3 weeks before, 2 months before to apply. Apply early, go through the interview process, which is about at least an hour. The interviews are done on Zoom, but the interviews are really, really helpful because that gives you the chance to understand what you're going into. And the tutors will be very frank with you. And very often we've had people that interview twice. It's not a problem. We're very happy for you to interview. And then we might say to you, look, I think you should go away and work on this or that or the other. Maybe it's your own English, maybe it's something else, and come back in a few months and interview again. We do that all the time and it works really, really well. So interview very quickly, get some feedback, get ready, go through all the administrative stuff that you have to go through in France if you're using your CPF or whatever, and then if necessary interview again, but don't leave it. Somebody's just put a question in the chat about yeah, you need to bring a laptop.
Yeah, you need to bring your own device for
not because the structure of the classes is going to be on, everything is in real time. It's not like a self-study course where you're going to study stuff on your computer, not at all, but you need a laptop to do your lesson plans. That's why you need a laptop.
And are topics mandatory for the lesson plans?
No, it doesn't work like that. We help people gain familiarity with working with course books. That's very important. So simply because when you start teaching, you know, maybe you're going to go out and teach, you know, nurses or engineers. You know, what are you going to do when you get your first job? I would go and buy a book from Cambridge University Press or somewhere on English for engineers, you know, and then I'm going to open that book and I'm going to start with page 1 and I'm going to create a lesson from it. So CELTA helps you become very comfortable with using coursebook, which is important. But, you know, it's not because you have to teach a certain subject. You discuss that in your lesson planning individual session with your tutor as to they're going to say, I want you to do a listening lesson tomorrow. You can use this material if you want to, or you can use some other materials. What we want to make sure is that you can teach lessons on grammar, but also speaking, reading, writing, and listening. Skills-based lessons are very, very important as well in our profession.
So what sort of students do you teach in your practice? Are they just random people that really want to learn English?
Madeline, tell us who are your guinea pigs?
Actually, I wonder if they are different online and
probably.
On-site,
go ahead.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
we had mostly it was mainly 2 cohorts, students and retired people.
Same then.
Oh, okay, so it is the same. So yeah, they are volunteers and they're really happy to be here, really supportive. They participate. It's a great crowd.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same. Mostly retired because they have free time, and but yeah, you do get to know them. You get quite attached to your students, even though, like you say, you're online as well, and they're really nice, and they're trying to help you out as well. So
yeah, you teach, very important, you're going to teach 2 levels on CELTA. You're going to teach a low level class and a high level class. That's very important. When you go out into the job market, nobody wants to employ someone who says, oh yeah, but I only teach high level students. You have to be able to teach anybody, and that's what CELTA prepares you for. Yeah.
Okay, maybe last question. So there is somebody asking about can we enroll in both, like face-to-face and online, so you get 2 different type of practice and experience?
Absolutely. You go through the interview process, talk to the tutor about what kind of course you'd like to do. You might, and then you can decide afterwards. You don't enroll, you apply for CELTA. It's not like a French course where you don't enroll, you apply, you send in your application form, which you download from our website, for example, and then we're going to set up a chat, this interview for you. And at that point, you can make your decisions. You don't have to make them ahead of time.
But I guess the question is, if, for example, I register for a face-to-face CELTA,
you can change your mind. You can change your mind, sure.
You can change your mind, but then do you get an insight of the...
The interview with the tutor is when you can really consolidate your ideas about, should I do it this way or should I do it that way? You've got to talk it through with someone to decide. Don't think, very often people change their mind. They come to us saying, I want to do this one. And then by the time they've done the interview, they say, no, I realize actually I want to do the other one. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think more or less we've covered...
Some people was asking Sonia here about, can we work in École Publique in France?
Yes, there is a question about...
increasingly, Éducation Nationale is picking up CELTA graduates. I think that's partly because there is, as we know, there's a terrible need for teachers in France. In areas like Marseille, for example, people are, schools are desperate for our teachers. So yeah, I track this very closely, and what I've noticed is that increasingly CELTA graduates are working with Éducation Nationale for Éducation Nationale.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Okay.
I think Gail had several questions about Delta.
The diploma, we talk, you have to first do a certificate level qualification, and then you need to get 2 or 3 years experience before you can move on to a diploma level qualification. Diploma level qualifications require you to be able to reflect on quite a lot of experience, teaching experience, and if you don't have that experience, you can't do it. So yeah, even if you're already teaching, it's a good idea to start with your CELTA. It's short. We're talking about 4 or 5 weeks of your life. A diploma could be 3 years of your life. So first do the certificate, and then you can think about doing your diploma. Yeah.
Yeah, it's am I right in saying that Delta, there is more research and you have
to have a lot of teaching experience, and
yes,
you have to have in place an understanding which you can gain only at certificate level. What's the difference between, in our profession, we consider a language-based lesson versus a skills-based lesson. You have to be quite au fait with that. You have to be up to speed on that. And one of the major reasons people fail at diploma level, the failure rate is very high worldwide at diploma level, unlike certificate level, is because they haven't gone through the initial certificate.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. Okay, I think we've covered all the topics, and yes, I think
feel free. I'm going to put in my email address. Feel free to send me an email if you have any follow-up questions. I'm just putting this in the chat box, everyone. If that helps you, okay? Questions maybe we didn't get to.
There's one last question that just popped in about the CPF. Maybe for someone who doesn't necessarily familiar with the CPF, if you can just tell us how that actually works.
Yeah, you can. Everybody can use their CPF for CELTA. It's the only teaching qualification that is on the CPF, which is fantastic. And that's due to Cambridge, who has put in a lot of effort into getting that recognition, French government recognition with France Compétences. So if you want to use your CPF, but I would say first apply to your CELTA centre, because what happens sometimes is people, they apply simply on the CPF platform, and then they sit there and then they wonder why nothing's happening. It's because you haven't gone through your interview. And also we can help you better decide which session, which course you want to do. So don't just sign up on the CPF. First apply, and then we'll send you the link once you've decided which session you want, when you want to do it, how you want to do it. Then we can send you the link and you can go through the CPF registration, which is
so the question was about like they don't need to
pay up front.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I can answer this because I've done that, and you don't have to pay up front. It's directly taken from your CPF credit to CELTA, so you don't pay anything.
Absolutely. The CPF is run by the Caisse de Dépôt. You're working directly with the French government there. They're completely 100% guaranteed safe, etc. I mean, you can't get much safer than paying the French government, quite frankly. No. Somebody's just asking, do you pay for the interview? No, you don't pay for your interview. It's totally free. Okay. And Éducation Nationale, CPF, yes, that's very complicated. If you work for Éducation Nationale, go and talk to your human resources person in your college or in your fac or wherever you are, and start the process of getting them to transfer your credits into the CPF. But it's discretionary, and Éducation Nationale are extremely bad at honouring CPF. Yeah. And
one last question, is it possible to apply for the 26th of May session with ELT?
I'm afraid that's full. I'm awfully sorry.
There is
one, but we'll have another one. There's sessions all the time. Yeah.
There are a few questions about the lesson planning. If I can just, because that was something I was really worried about beforehand. I just imagined stupidly that they would say, right, teach an upper intermediate, and I'd have to create everything. No. They give you the course book. It's all very, they will tell you, they start off by giving the whole framework, and little by little, it'll get more independence. So I just saw those because that was something I was personally a little bit worried about, but it's completely structured, and you're completely told how to plan your lessons, and
we give you templates, don't we?
Exactly, yes. It's all templates. You don't have to create everything from scratch yourself.
It's not an academic course fundamentally. It's not like what you would do at university.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mathieu, Madeleine. Thank you. And if people have any questions, we actually will do a follow-up with where they can take a CELTA, and of course we've put your email address, Jane, in the chat, and then if there are any questions, we will direct them your way. And thank you very much for your time. That was great. Fantastic, and really do a CELTA. I've done one myself. It's probably the best one I've done in my life as well. And I met great friends, and I still have them as well. So yeah, so at least you make friends.
And you end up working for Cambridge, Sonia.
And you see, so that gets you, everywhere. Anyway, bye-bye, everyone, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.